All right, today we have Module 4, Lesson 5 homework. It's all going to be word problems. So we have 1, 2, 3 word problems, multiple, 4 parts for 1, 3 parts for 2, and then 3 is its own word problem. So let's see if we can get through these. When reading a word problem, we want to make sure we understand what operation it's asking us to do, or operations we need to do. With that operation, we need to see what it is asking us for. And now with multi-step word problems, especially with number 1, we have an A, B, C, and D. They all have something different to ask us. So let's figure this out. All these operations should be division, since that's what we're working on right now is division. So the first question said, when someone donated 14 gallons of paint to Rosendale Elementary School, the 5th grade decided to use it to paint murals. They split the gallons equally among the 4 classes. All right, so what is being divided? So what is the dividend? Then we have to figure out what is the divisor. So how many groups are we splitting it up to? What is doing the dividing? So on and so forth. Then we need to write a division sentence. Which would be blank divided by blank equals. Then we need to solve using a tape diagram or long division. Finally, we need to check with multiplication. And write our answer in a sentence form. So I'm not doing that last part. I'm not going to write the answer in a statement. As a statement, we're gonna find that dividend, find the divisor, write our division sentence. I'm just gonna figure dividend out, divisor out, division sentence. I'm gonna solve using either the tape diagram or long division. I might do both, just to make sure that we can reinforce those. And I am going to check with multiplication. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to leave this on here so we can go back and forth between the two. So what are we dividing? What is being split up? When someone donated 14 gallons of paint to Rosendale Elementary School, the 5th grade decided to use it to paint murals. They split the gallons equally among the 4 classes. So I know we're going to split up the 14 gallons. So our dividend is 14. Now it does help that it says they split the gallons equally among the 4 classes. So that is a good key right there. And then we're going to say the divisor is 4 because they split it amongst the 4 classes. Our division sentence should be 14 divided by 4. And another thing for the students that work on is just saying the division sentence with what is going on. So we're saying 14 gallons is going to be divided by 4 classes. And if that makes sense, then we can move on to the next step. Sometimes it doesn't logically make sense what some of our division sentences are. So that's a time that the students need to check their work to this point and make sure we have the right divisor and dividend. So the first question says, how much paint did each class have to paint the mural? So the first one we can do a tape diagram. We're trying to figure out A right now. We're going to split it up into 4 parts because we're dividing it up 4 times. So 4 units, again, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that makes the whole. 4 units equals 14. 1 unit equals 14 divided by 4, which is represented by the fact that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and they equal 14. So 14 divided by 4. So that equals 14 fourths, which in turn is the same thing. Remember, we want to simplify this, make it a proper fraction. So we should end up with 3 2/4, or 3 1/2. Now, this is, again, we're working on making proper fractions and simplifying any fraction that is equivalent to 1/2. So that is something we're working on. So now we have 3 1/2 as our quotient, and we do quotient times divisor to see if that'll give us our dividend. And again, we can decompose 3/2 to 3 plus 1/2 times 4. That's the same thing as 3 times 4 plus 1/2 times 4. And that equals 12 plus 4/2, which equals 12 plus 2, which equals 14. So as long as you get your dividend in the end, you did it all right. So we know that they are going to do 3 1/2. Each class will have 3 1/2. All right. Now we're going to the next question, part B. How much paint will 3 classes use? Show your work using words, numbers, or pictures. And the fact that we have the tape diagram, we know that one class would be get 3 1/2. So all the classes would get 3 1/2 because that's what equals 4. So what would 1, 2, 3 get? Well, that's 3 times 3 1/2, or 3 1/2 plus 3 1/2 plus 3 1/2. And that's going to end up being, again, I'll go ahead and do the addition way. So we have 3, 6, 9 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is 3/2, which equals 10 1/2. So 3 classes would get 10 1/2. So this is for B. This is for A. This is for B. C. If 4 students share a 30-foot wall equally, how many square feet of the wall will be painted by each student? Now, this is just totally introducing new terms into our equation. We're not even working with the 14 or the 4 classes. We're working with 4 students sharing a 30-foot wall. So this is where it's important that we understand what is the dividend and what is the divisor. What is being split up? What is being shared? Well, they're sharing a 30-foot wall. So that's what's being shared, the 30 square feet of the wall, and it's being split up by the 4 students. Now, if a student were to say 4 divided by 30, they would be saying that the 4 students are being split up amongst 30 square feet. Now, we don't want to do that. We want to do 30 square feet being split up by 4 students. So our division sentence should state 30 divided by 4. And what does that equal? So let's use the long division this time. So 30 divided by 4. So we cannot divide by 4. So we're going to move to the next one, 30. How many groups of 4 are in 30? Well, I know off the top of my head there's 7 groups of 4 in 30. That's 28. So 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract, we get 2. So again, we take our remainder. Instead of calling a remainder, we say 2/4 or 7 1/4. And then we check our work. So 7 1/4 times 4 equals what? Look at that. I messed up right here. That should be 1/2. Glad I caught myself because that's why we check our work. So 7 1/2 times 4. We can split this up to 7 plus 1/2 times 4, which is the same thing as 4 times 7 plus 4 times 1/2, which equals 28 plus 4/2, which equals 28 plus 2, which equals 30. So we split up 30 square feet amongst 4 students, and they get 7 1/2 each. What fraction of the wall will each student paint? Well, this question always tricks with the student. If you use a tape diagram, the whole is 30. 4 students, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each student gets 1/4 of the wall. This one tricked the student earlier in class. It was asking, it was about if she had 4 assignments to read over an 8-day period, and if she were to do the 4 assignments evenly, the 4 reading assignments equally amongst the 8 days, how much of the assignment would she read per day? And then it asked, let me see if I can say what it specifically asked. It then asked what fraction of the reading assignment will read each night. The first part A said how many articles will he have to read per night, which was I believe it was 4/8 or 1/8 of an article. And then what fraction of the reading assignment will be read each night, and it was 1/8. So what fraction of the wall will each person get? They'll each get 1/4. All right, let's look at B, or 2. 2 says Craig bought a 3-foot long baguette and then made 4 equally sized sandwiches with it. All right. What portion of the baguette was used for each sandwich? Draw a visual model to help you solve this problem. So it wants us to use a visual model. So we're going to use the tape diagram. All right. Always want to know what our dividend is. That's always important. Dividend. Divisor. The dividend is what's going to be split up. We have a 3-foot long baguette and then made 4 equally sized sandwiches with it. So we're splitting the baguette up because they're making 4 sandwiches out of it. So 3 divisor is 4. Division sentence is 3 divided by 4, which we know as a fraction that is 3/4, which is the answer right there. But we still want to be able to show our work and show how we got to that. So let's prove it. So this is 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 units equally. So we can say 4 units equals 3. 1 unit equals 3 divided by 4. So 1 unit equals 3/4. Then the next question says, how long in feet is one of Craig's sandwiches? Well, our answer is 3/4 of a foot. So how long in feet? It would be 3/4 of a foot. Oh, see, that's where it got tricky again. So A says what portion of the baguette was used for each sandwich, and it would be 1/4 of the baguette. So A is 1/4 of the baguette was used in each sandwich. And then B says how long in feet is one of Craig's sandwiches. So B is where we're going to say that it is 3/4 of a foot. See, A and B are those tricky ones. And then how many inches long is one of Craig's sandwiches? Oh, so now we need to, convert feet to inches. So we can easily either do a tape diagram where we did 3 feet into inches. So 3 feet in inches, 36 inches. And we just do a tape diagram with 36 inches. So 1, 2, 3. So 4 units equals 36 inches. 1 unit equals 36 divided by 4. And that would equal 9 inches. So C says 9 inches. All right. That's an easy one because converting feet to inches is one of the easier conversions that we know. So 9 inches is how long one of his sandwiches. And then the last question states, Scott has 6 days to save enough money for a $45 concert ticket. If he saves the same amount of each day, what is the minimum amount he must save each day in order to reach his goal? Okay, so we know he has 6 days and that he needs to save enough for 45. If he saves the same amount each day, so the days is what it's being split amongst, and 45 is being split. So our dividend, $45, because we know that's what's being split up amongst the days. He has 6 days to save. Let's see how much money he can save in 6 days. Let's draw a little tape diagram. We have $45. So sometimes this thing likes to move that away from the top. It's messing with me right now. $45. Yes, 6 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I made 1 too many. Let's go ahead and shave this part off. 6. So 6 units equals $45. 1 unit equals 45 divided by 6. So we can use our long division over here, or we know our multiples of 6 equals 45, 6. So we can either do repeat addition, count groups of 6, or just know that 6 times 7 is 42. So we got 7. How much do we have left over? 3/6. So equals 7 1/2. Now we got to check our work. So 7 1/2 times 6. So we can go ahead and break that apart. 7 plus 1/2 times 6. 7 times 6 plus 1/2 times 6 equals 7 times 6 is 42. 6 has equals 3. So 42 plus 3 equals 45. So he needs to say 7 1/2 dollars, or $7.50 in. Oh, so it did say express it in dollars. So this would be the best way to express it. And there you go. I hope you guys have a great night. I know word problems can be tricky, so have a good night. See you tomorrow.